Hey everybody, Tim Kelly here. A new thing on Master Photo Techniques. We're going to handle something a little different, which is more of the entry level. I've learned recently that the demand for people with new DSLRs to have a little bit of help is just climbing and climbing and climbing. And the reason that it's come to light really is because in a drawer was this camera at my house, a Canon Rebel T5i, a current camera that hasn't really been used but one time. My wife purchased it, wanting to make good images of her school plays and other things like that, musicals. But let's face it, if you don't have somebody teaching you about camera operation and all the choices you have, it's intimidating. So today, I'm no camera expert. In fact, I'm hard pressed to buy a new camera every 3 to 5 years because when I get one that works, I just work it, you know? So I'm not a gear hound at all. So you're getting this information today from somebody that doesn't really care whether you're using a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony, but rather I just want to help you understand the basic functions of the DSLR so maybe you'll have a better first experience, okay? Most of these little cameras come with what they call a kit lens. This is a little 18 to 55, I believe it is. Little tiny lightweight zoom, works really well, and it's made, of course, for this Canon small sensor body, and you're always going to get the right lens with your camera. We're going to just go ahead and mount that little lens, clicks in place, and you now have a short zoom. And you are ready to make images. But wouldn't it be nice if you knew what to set it on? Let's take a look at a few of these things. The best thing to start with is this main function knob that we have here, which is currently on this green setting, which is, we call it the auto everything. So the flash will even pop up. It'll set all the shutter speed and aperture based on what it sees, okay? The next one is P program, and this will allow you to have some preferences. It's still a very automatic setting, and you can make choices like don't use the pop-up flash or others like that. Then we're going to get into TV, which is not television. It is speed. It is shutter speed control, shutter speed priority, which means if you're going to shoot your kid at a soccer game, you want a very high speed to freeze the action, and this is how we do that. We're not going to go to the detail right now. I'm just explaining what the settings do. And this aperture priority is very, very popular because I know a lot of people like to shoot with a portrait look. In other words, the background very out of focus. This is the setting we need for that. We will need to open our aperture, open our lens up a lot to make the background out of focus. And in doing that, you'll be able to tell the camera how wide you want it and what kind of look you want, and it will compensate by the shutter speed and the ISO to give you the look you want. Then we have manual. My particular favorite, because that's all I use, is manual. That's where you independently set your own ISO, which is speed or sensitivity. Used to be film speed. In the old days, we had a couple of different speeds. We had ASA 100, 400, 800, that's about it. Now these things go to 6400. So high sensitivity, you can shoot in one candlelight, you know, pretty amazing. But with manual, you will then be choosing your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. So let's talk about those things. As we talked about this little Rebel as just an example of the genre of cameras, I looked it up today. It's still currently available, B&H and other stores, and it really has an awful lot of features. It can do video. It's got 18 megapixel camera, which is 3 times the size of my first professional digital camera, which cost $30,000. So we've come a long way. The whole kit, with the kit lens we're showing you here, is like $539 at this time. And that's a lot of camera for the money. I've left this open so I can read you a few of the features because they are pretty amazing. So as we take a quick look at the features of a camera like this, and again, this is only an example of the certain genre of smaller DSL cameras for the prosumer. This one having 18 megapixel sensor size gives you incredible fidelity, incredible sharpness. It's a CMOS sensor. It creates JPEG and RAW files, which are great because the JPEG, of course, will capture the full image and compress it so it stores well. But RAW is an option so that you can manipulate the RAW content, such as exposure and color balance. It also has, let's see, speeds to a 4,000th of a second to 30 seconds. It has aperture priority, auto, manual, shutter priority. These are the things that are important. And of course, it has a lot of presets, the typical custom settings or daylight, flash, fluorescent, tungsten, all the different choices you might want to have. It has movie choices, and it has continuous servo autofocus. So it's always going to be following focus when you depress that button. Just really very wonderful amount of features for the money. All right, this camera, as you can see, is very easy to hold and balance. It's lightweight for sure. It does have a tilting screen, which is pretty darn cool. My camera doesn't have that, you know. So that's a very nice way to monitor or to play back video, or you can go to live view on stills. Simple controls for playback and easy. I'm going to show you this real quick. The lens change button is right here. So should you want to get into other lenses, just push the button to press, and you can put that next lens on. It's really that simple. The kit comes with a body cap for the camera body, a front lens cap for here, and the rear lens cap when you take that lens off. Beyond this main function dial, we have the simple on and off power button for the camera. So that's on camera. And this icon is for movie. Set up and we're ready to go live view and start shooting movie right there. So I'm going to stay in the photography category right now. And the other one you see here is ISO. ISO used to be ASA. It just meant the speed of the film or the sensitivity of the sensor. So in this case, let's take a look at the back. And we'll set that button on. Okay, here are the choices for ISO. So it's currently on 800, as you can see on the top, and highlighted. But we can select all these others from auto to 12,800 ISO, super high speed recording. So we're going, since we're in a room, indoors with no flash, we're going to stay at 800. Okay, for an example, let's do the aperture priority, which means we set the aperture. And the ISO is still at 800. So with the aperture right here, we can set it for F. The F number is the opening or the aperture. And the lower the number, the more wide open the lens is. So that number changes. This would be higher depth of field. And this would be more out of focus in the background. So 5.6. I'm going to shoot something here to show you real quickly. All right. I'm just going to shoot this business card in the front. And as you can see, if you can see, the background is way out of focus. And that's the kind of look you want for portrait work or something just that's busy in the background, you want to knock it out. That's the way to do it. Now let's go to still in aperture priority. We're going to take it down from 5.6, which is wide open, to let's say f11. And of course the shutter is going to go slower because we're cutting the amount of light coming in, and I have to hold it nice and still. But you're going to see when I shoot the same picture, the background will be more in focus. So let's do that. There we go. So we've got virtually the same image. Okay, and you can kind of see we have leaves and stuff in the back. In the playback mode, we can go and look at the previous one, which is way softer. And then with the smaller aperture, we have more focus. So now we're going to take a look at white balance. This button right here, white balance, hitting that gives us these choices. Auto white balance. daylight, shade, cloudy. Incandescent is, indoor light bulbs. Then we have fluorescent, which is difficult, and flash, and then full custom. So let's see if it will show us. Yes, in daylight, it's approximately 5,200 degrees Kelvin. The shade is 7,000, very cool. Then we have cloudy at 6,000 Kelvin. Very warm, 3,200 Kelvin, tungsten. It's amazing that it can fix all these lighting properties. Fluorescent, and then strobe, which is usually about 55 to 6,000. And that's custom, which is another lesson. So let's just go to the beginning, which is white balance, and we're going to set it. Auto white balance. And I'm going to just take a picture, and we'll show you the image. So the camera is making the decision on white balance based on the light in the room. And there's a little daylight, there's a little bit of a fluorescent fill, there is incandescence on the ceiling. So it's a real mix. So let's take a picture. All right. Because we have a very mixed room here. And that's a very slightly cool but more natural looking color balance. So standard info window. We can change that mode. Let's go to a different window. This one shows us the color space we're in, sRGB, which is, I would say, the right thing to do. We have no white balance shifting set. Pretty much we're going to a new camera settings. We haven't customized anything. The free space on the camera is 56.5 gigabytes, so we got a lot of photo space left. The other menu is the one we normally operate in. Again, you've got your shutter speed priority on this one, 125th, and then it's going to give you the aperture that it needs. You have the auto white balance on, and we are shooting RAW, it looks like on here, which is great. But what I like, user settings, is the RAW Plus. It's going to be right here. Let's see if I can go. There you go. RAW Plus JPEG. Okay, that means most of the time you'll be able to use the JPEG or use the JPEG first, but you'll also have the RAW if you need it to make some massive corrections. The essentials that we're going over today, here is the location of the Canon battery. It's right there. Pops out. Push that to press that. You can go put it on the charger, which is included. And it's in and it's ready. The other thing is the card itself. And this card is a SD card, 64 gigs. It's got a lot of space for pictures. It only holds the one card at a time. So you still may want to have a spare with you when you're on a trip or something. So there you go. Tripod thread mount there if you want to put it on a tripod, which is not a bad idea. The other side of the camera body, we have a couple access points for audio and control. And we also have the download. You got a mini USB and you've got a mini HDMI. So you have real good connectivity to your TV or your computer. And I've shown you most of the other little features, but we do have autofocus on and off, manual and auto. And we have stabilizer on and off. We'll talk more in depth about that next time. I just wanted to get you acquainted to this kind of camera. This is your prosumer, very realistically priced in the 500, 600 range. And you can do great images with this. What we're going to try and do is alleviate today some of the fear of using this camera, because it has a lot of fun things like this screen. Love that. You could do all kinds of great playbacks and camera angles with that, and movies as easy as flipping a switch. So there you go, first episode on the DSLR.